Yo, what's up, everybody? This is your favorite ballhead realtor, Pedro Hardy.
This is Matt Meunier. How's it going, everyone?
That's it. Matty Ice in the building. And we are Humble Insights. Thank you guys for coming to the podcast. Today's our episode one, Matt.
Pioneers, here we are. We're doing it.
We're going on the Oregon Trail, right? Hopefully
Dusting
none
it
of
off, Daniel Boone. Let's go.
Hopefully none of us die from dysentery, like most people do in Oregon Trail. But yeah, man, we're super excited about this. I hope you guys are excited about this. We have a lot of knowledge. We have a huge network, not only in real estate but other places, and we can't wait to you guys to get to know us a little bit. So let's start it off, Matt. Who are you? Where you come from? What's going on?
Well, I think that guy in the background looks a lot better than I do right now. What a day it's been. But no, all jokes aside, I'm excited for this. I hope our viewers are too while we get rolling on it. But first and foremost, I'm a follower of Christ. No matter how far I stray from him, I know I can always come back to him and center myself and humble myself through the mistakes and sins that I have. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, I'm a husband, been married for 5 years, been with the same woman for 12 years. She is out on a bachelorette party right now. So I got the next 4 days to myself, me and
Oh
my
no.
dog and my golf clubs. So if she's listening to this, she knows what's up. Speaking of my dog, I'm a dog dad. We don't have kids yet, but we're working on that. Avid golfer and a sport enthusiast, and I just about my personality. Very easygoing, very even keeled. Came from a small farm town in Kiel, Wisconsin, maybe 3,500 people. Great place to grow up. For me, not a great place to stay, but it is the little city that does big things. So I always enjoy going home. And I attribute a lot to the personality of who I am. Belly buttons, there's like two kinds, right? And then there's mine because my dad kind of screwed mine up at birth. I don't really know what you'd cut it as, but there's an outie and there's an innie, and then there's mine. But I'm more of an extrovert with an innie. At least that's how I started as a personality and adapted over time. But all that comes back to just being a very small town kid wanting to get to know what your grandma's name and your great grandma's name is, and just really sitting down and listening to people is how my personality has adapted and evolved over time.
Dude, first of all, I did not know that you were from Kiel, Wisconsin.
Really small town, man. Yeah.
Man, that is cool. So where is that by actually?
That is it's Manitowoc County. It's around Plymouth and New Holstein, north of Sheboygan for people that don't know where the hell those two cities are. But
I'm about to say, people probably don't even know where those places are at.
Yeah, 25 minutes north of Sheboygan. If you blink as you drive by on Highway 57, you will miss the city. So very,
Wow.
very small.
City or village?
I think it's a city. I
It's a
think we
city.
have that
Okay.
going for us.
Just made it. Just made it to the city, right? Just got
Or you
there.
know what? It's a town. God, there's
It's,
that.
it's a,
It's a town. The town of Kiel, man.
I heard you only got one sheriff and one dog protecting the whole town over there.
They're active. They'll
They're
catch you
active.
too. Small enough.
I love it, man. Well, thank you for the introduction, Matt. My name is Pedro Hardy. I grew up in inner city Milwaukee. I actually grew up on Holden Chambers, actually half on there and then half on the south side of Milwaukee. I am a proud father of two amazing daughters, and my kids are basketball players. They're princesses. They'll punch you in the face and then they'll make you a cupcake afterwards. And I love it. And just like you, I'm a servant leader. Always believe that all blessings come from God, all trials come from God, and you have a plan. You can tell God your plan. He's just gonna make him laugh, right? Because He knows everything and always will know everything. And I never go a second without appreciating my God, and I'm never ashamed of Him either. So just like you on that, brother. I have three pets. I have a cat, I have a bearded dragon, and I have a guinea pig. Yeah, it sounds like a bar joke, right?
Yeah,
I got
that's a cocktail.
man, dude, and like my kids want a turtle now. I'm like, dude, okay, I'm cleaning up all these poops. I'm doing all this by myself. they always tell me like, Dad, we're gonna take care of it. And then they give me the, the cute eyes, and I'm like, okay. And then they never take care of it after the second week. I'm like, I got like 6 pounds of like poop that I always gotta take out every week now. Um, so
Someone needs a
that's
chore list.
man, dude, I'm gonna be forget real estate. I'm gonna be a veterinarian. Um, but yeah, my personality is very outgoing. I dress the way I dress. I always tell people this, like, I'm gonna go in showings with a hat. I'm gonna be wearing sweatpants sometimes. Do I wear a suit? Yes, clearly you see we're both wearing a suit, right?
Mhm.
But I always say this, luxury is not a price point, it's a service. So whether you come from nothing or whether you have all the money in the world, everyone gets treated the same. And I just want to be myself around every single client. So that is me in a nutshell. Um, so Matt, how did we meet, brother?
Well, I talked about being a sport enthusiast and growing up in Kiel. I probably should have stuck with golf, but football was my first love, and found myself a little small private school in Wisconsin Luther where I could still live out that dream in college. And I think that's where you ended up going too. I know you started somewhere else, but
That's right.
that's where we met at WLC training camp,
Whew,
2011, I think.
man, were those the good old days back then? Not a worry in the world. Just put your pads on, go to the buffet and get the patty melts in the
That's right.
cafeteria.
Oh
Oh man,
man.
like if I could relive, I mean, my knees can't relive that, my shoulders can't relive that. But if I could relive that time, a training camp one more time, do it like that, that had to be some of the funnest times of my life.
There's a lot of funny stories that transpired out of those. I was only at it for a couple of years. I had some injuries that shook me out of it quicker than I wanted to, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a lot of memories that last a lifetime that I still laugh about to this day. But
Oh man,
what a thing going in, you go to training camp and then you walk into the first day of syllabus day and everybody's all like nervous and settling in. You're like, oh, I know that guy, I know that guy. You sit down and like you feel like you're king of the world when you got like 100 people on your team that you know right away.
exactly. Especially when we all go to eat after, during lunchtime. And it's like you're never by yourself because like you look around and we have the whole back section to
Yep.
ourselves.
Yeah,
Um,
it was always home.
and let's be honest, it felt pretty good, especially like you said, everyone's like nervous, looking around, and we're like, "What's up, man? What's up?" Like, man, who are these guys?
Yeah.
I mean,
Not gonna lie,
speaking of,
sometimes I'd avoid walking through there just so I wouldn't get the call out. Hey, what are you doing? No.
I'm trying to study. Not today, you're not. Um, one thing about college football that people always ask, like, okay, first of all, it's a blessing to play college football. Like at any level, I tell these people all the time, people don't understand how hard it is to play college football, regardless what level, Division One, two, three, JUCO. It is a grind. It is something that's going to test your mental. I mean, those early mornings suck, right? Class all
Oh, yeah.
day. Then you got weightlifting. Then you got practice. And then we got film, right? And then it's like you do all these things to play for an hour on Saturday. Like you're
Yeah.
working 80 hours to play an hour, and you're not even playing a full hour. Think about it, because we only play one position, so we're probably playing 35 minutes, give or take.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
it just challenges you to be better. It challenges you to, think outside the box, and it challenges you to know who you are. Because one thing about football is if you're not confident in yourself, it's gonna show.
Yep.
So, like, what do you,
100%.
what is your takes from that? Like, what did you learn from college football that you're actually still using to this day?
Well, you kind of spoke on that. Just imagine all the things you have to do as a student and then pile the athletics on top of that and the responsibilities you have as an athlete, as a teammate, as a player. Um, I picked a interesting path that I obviously didn't follow on, and we'll get more into that later. But sport and exercise science is where I started, murdered myself with anatomies, biologies, and chemistries. I'm a slow reader and slow learner. I like to do things on the fly and have hands on. So to go to practice, especially Tuesday nights. At least you had a couple hours in between classes and the night practices to do some homework and things. But you come home from practice, you're beat. You don't want to sit down and study and do all that, and then you got to eat, and you try to maintain some sort of social life. So time management was a big thing that I took from that. I still use that to this day. There can always be improvement, but blocking the camp in the way that my life ran as a college student athlete is definitely something I still do to this day.
I love that. I mean, time management, anyone in any profession can use time management. Anyone in their personal life can use time management. I mean, I worked all day, tired. You got up at what, 3 in the morning?
Today, yeah.
Three
Had
in
to
the
pick
morning,
the
right?
wife off at the airport. It was an early day.
It's early day, right? Worked all day, had to be your best, right? And the time is what, 6:30? I don't even know what the time is now, PM. And
Somewhere around
we're right here on the podcast. And we both have the house to ourselves. So like that tells you about time management and dedication. And I really feel like that's a reflection of who you were as a football player. And, I really think that people, if you can play college sports, do it. I hear a lot of people like, if I'm not going Division 1, I'm not going to play. I can tell you that, yes, it's hard. Yes, it's a grind. At the same time, it's some of the best moments of your life. It's going to test you. It's going to make you a better person. I mean, you're either going to quit or you're going to grow and break through your ceiling. I mean, it's literally that simple. Um, so, what is one of your favorite college moments, bro?
Oh boy. There's a lot. I mean, graduating was great. That feeling that I had doing that and knowing all the breakdowns that I went through just to get to that point with the credits that I stacked myself with to then not even pursue what I went after down the road. Just knowing I finished that, that was probably the best feeling. I still think about that feeling at times, but um, I would say on a funny note, I had an injury. I busted my ankle pretty good my freshman year. Tried to get through that sophomore year, couldn't do it. Ended up
Yeah.
doing something to it again, but I was a lifer of the training room, and sometimes I use that to my advantage to get out of some late tardy practice arrivals. But my buddy Mitch, unfortunately, was not in that boat. And I think one time we were going to practice, we were late, like 15 minutes late. Meetings were definitely in. Doors were locked when we got there. We get in the parking lot. I was like, all right, Mitch, see you. And I take off to the athletic training room. Wasn't involved in any team meetings or needed to be for that point. I was done for the year. And he's banging on the locker room door. And I can only imagine what you guys heard on the inside. But I know that it was in the back where the defense was, and the meetings always kind of took place up front by the offense. And I think somebody opened up the door, like, I don't know if it was Murph or Miller, but they were just irate and pissed off from what Mitch said. And just the facial expressions probably were a laugh and a million words in and of itself. But imagine walking across all those people to the front, because his locker was right next to our head coach's like little
I
pajama.
remember
I can just
that.
imagine him popping in, tiptoeing. So, granted, I didn't get to experience that part of it, but just hearing about it and knowing I was on the outside of that, that was a pretty funny experience, something you can laugh about later on.
Oh my God, we'll do it. Yeah, we man, Jaeger. Shout out to Jaeger Bombs. Yeah, that's our boy right there. The smoothest guy we ever met in my life, right there. Um, you know,
Graceful when in trouble.
and always in trouble, always. I mean, and then it's just like he barely had his. It's funny. He barely buckled his pads. Do you remember that? He
Oh yeah.
always he always used to come in.
They
He's always.
ran around run practice without a face mask on.
I swear, I was thinking about that. He had the helmet with no face mask.
Yep,
I
just a
said,
chin strap.
oh my God, he is man, dog. I mean, shout out to Coach Miller. I love Coach Miller, man. He taught me so much about being a man. Even though I didn't graduate from WLC, I actually never graduated college, period. After my junior year, I just like, you know what? It's saying for me, I'm never going to use this stuff anyways. Um, do I use anything from college? No. The only thing I use, I feel like, is just a network and the people. And not that I use them, but like my communication skills with people of different backgrounds. But honestly, it wasn't for me. But to speak on a funny note, I remember we were doing one-on-ones. I don't know if you remember this. Um, and I told you guys in the locker room, like, I'm gonna try out some Ocho Cinco moves. And I'm trying to, like, remember my feet work was real fast, right? So I remember who was it? Bonner, John Bonner's brother. What was
Yeah,
his name?
Tom.
Tom, right?
Yeah,
And you remember Tom always jams people so hard. Remember all that?
he's a big
So
dude.
I'm
I
like,
mean, it's easy
it,
for him.
yeah, because he's like he's like 6 feet and 300 pounds, all muscle, yoke corner. He should have never played corner, should play linebacker. Um, but I know I was like, he's gonna try to jam me, so I'm gonna hit him with the Ocho Cinco. I don't know if you remember this, but I did like what's it called? When you karaoke. I did karaoke on my feet, like bah, 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 and I stepped back and remember he fell. And then I was wide open like this,
Oh boy.
yeah. I remember Coach Miller. I remember shout out to Marcus Miller, because he brings us up at the bar all the time. He said he remembered Coach rewinding that 4 or 5 times and like, whoa, look at that footwork right there. and he just kept rewinding. And everybody is dying laughing because, as you know, Tom in one-on-ones, he gets the best of most people. Not
Yeah.
that, not that day. Nah, I got him that time. And then after the whole practice after that, when he was holding me, he did not jam me. He just backed up. He was like, okay, I'm gonna let you get that 5 yards, big fella.
You set the
Um,
precedent moving forward with that.
exactly. And I just remember that moment, just like Coach Miller, just like, whoa, what was that? And he's just looking at, and then he zoomed in my feet, bro. So he just, so like, he's like, clearly you're not gonna have this much time in the game, so don't do that. But I'm like, yeah, I get it. But that was my obvious. And then I think the best football moment I ever had was my 100-yard kick return for a touchdown.
I remember
Um,
that.
man, did you remember the sideline? What they said when I ran it?
Yeah, I remember seeing Shem Biebert's face. He's like, "Man, that guy's fast."
No, so I fumbled the punt. So 2 possessions before, I almost took the punt back for a touchdown, and they got me. So I was like, man, I'm gonna, I never call fair catch. So next time they punt, I fumbled it. Remember, I got smacked, and then he scored the field goal. And
Yeah.
I remember Tom, shout out to Tom Bonner again. He's like, thanks for losing us the game, Pedro. And then it was a kick return. So coach was like, he just gave me a look like, this is your moment now, right? So we're supposed to go right. So I get the ball. We're supposed to go right. I go right.
They
And they
started that
blow.
thing.
Yeah, remember that? They blew that shit up. I said, yeah, this ain't happening. So I cut back. As soon as I cut back, why did I hear the whole sideline like, Pedro, what the fuck are you doing? I don't know why. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, don't mess this up. Now I'm no pressure, right? Make those 2 people miss. Tuck gave me a nice block, and then it was to the house. But I just remember the whole team when I cut back, like, Pedro, what the fuck are you? And then you hear in the video, if you see the video, you can still hear the sideline saying that. And I'm like, oh, thanks, guys, for having my back. I appreciate you guys.
I just watched the couple steps to the right, the twirl around, and boom, I mean,
I had
that
to.
was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, because I was gonna be benched if I didn't. Right. So yeah, man. So let's talk about that. That's how we came together. We were teammates, right? We talked about our different backgrounds. Now here we are today. So who is Matt of today?
So Matt of today, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. You mentioned your trials and tribulations with college. The networking was great, but the essence of it wasn't for you, right? Well, I kind of felt the same way. Sport and exercise science major, never used it, still haven't used it to this day. I started as a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual. That's the only job offer I had coming out of college. And I can't really say it was a good job offer because they pretty much gave that position to everybody. Uh, so I mean, all you had to do was go to their booth at a career fair and, oh yeah, you should be an intern. Try that. So that's how I started. I intern, transferred into the full-time role, but was an entrepreneur there because you owned your own business, and I own my own business today. Superior Home Insights. We are a realty. I'm not a broker like you are with Humbled Hands, but we do realty services for both buyers and sellers of everyday single family dream homes. I work with a lot with investors. I think my personality matches best with those types of people because I'm an analytics type of a guy when it comes to looking at returns and what your options are and what you can do to navigate that return. And then we do property management as well. So I am fully immersed in real estate from a lot of different angles. I do flips on top of it all. I've done dozens for clients and been the central piece to that puzzle, whether it be finding them the deal and selling it for them, finding it, running the project management, which my property management background gives me that experience, and then selling it. Whatever it is, investors are kind of who I gear towards, but I do help out a lot of residential buyers as well. It just all depends on the fit and the personality. So who I am today starts with SHI and my entrepreneurial spirit, which I struggled to identify as with in college. Didn't think that a degree was right for me and had some tough times with that. But I was always a networker and I always loved listening and talking to people. Um, Started investing as well. So I'm a full-time investor when it comes to long-term holds. I do a little bit of short-term rentals as well. Got 8 properties and 30 units. It's going to be 9 and 31 by April after we develop a single family house up in the Lake Arrowhead area for another short-term rental to stack on top of the one I have in Tennessee in the Smokies. But that's just kind of what business side of me on who I am today is from a professional side.
I love that. And another thing about you, and I think this is why your clients are so lucky to have you, is that you do your own projects, like you stated before, right? Like you have rental properties under your name. You have the knowledge to, hey, I know what an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, tenant type is, right? You know how to get financing. You know how to break a deal down. Um, you know how to market a property. You know how to get it priced right. Like these are things that people take for granted from real estate professionals. I literally was talking to somebody today, and I told him, I said, look, yes, you can sell your property. No, you don't have to pay anyone anything. You're absolutely right. But you saving 5 grand is costing you 50 grand because you watch a YouTube video and I have 10 years of experience. Who do you think is going to have the better outcome here? And, some people have to learn that way. Um, And I think this is why this podcast is so important because it's not just the jokes. It's not just, we're both handsome, good looking guys. And I know all the ladies out there are going to be watching us. Matt is taken. I'm not. But, we want to give you guys value. We want to show you guys how to break a deal down. We're going to show you guys stuff that most people talk about in these seminars, but they actually don't teach you because people that run seminars are running seminars because they're not making the money off the actual transactions, and that's just facts. So I appreciate that. Me, I'm the Ballhead Realtor, co-owner of Humble Hands Real Estate. My partner Rick is just like you, super hyper focused on investing. He runs our what we call it Humble Hands Real Estate Invest side of it, where he's finding properties to flip. He's finding more rental properties to grow the business, right? He's more involved with that. I'm more involved with the marketing, strategic growth of us, recruitment of us, compliance, the aka the boring stuff. Let's be honest, right? That's what I'm in charge of.
Yeah,
Um,
except the marketing, man. I mean, that's an integral part of any business, and you do that incredibly well.
well, I appreciate that, and man, it comes at a cost because a lot of people think you just post a video. It's more than just posting a video. You got to know what type of video, what's trending, all these things, and it's just like marketing is a full-time job. And I keep telling people when you start off, you have to know the basics because if you do hire somebody, if you don't know the basics, it's like hiring an accountant. If you don't know what at least debit and credits are, that person could wipe you clean if you don't understand accounting, right? You have to, even though you hire someone, you still have to understand the basics. But yeah, like with me, personally, I help, first time home buyers. Again, I help people manage their portfolios. My biggest client, shout out Patu. We do a lot of off-market properties. Off-market means you're not seeing the MLS, you're not seeing on Zillow or any of those things. We went from one, when I met her 6 years ago, one property. I think she's got to be at 200 now.
All
So,
right.
and she's based out of Madison. So, shout out to her. And, but yeah, she relies on me to run the numbers. She relies on me to say, hey, what kind of tenants am I going to get? What type of property management company am I going to use, and all these things. So yeah, man, I love it. Look at us, both of us taking both our worlds, bringing them together, and giving the people what they want, but what they deserve, right? Like a lot of people always say, like, what do agents give back to the industry? And yes, we do a lot of YouTube videos. This is going to be on YouTube, obviously, but I really want to dive into the real thing. Like, if you're a struggling real estate agent, why are you struggling? Where's your support? What are you doing every single day so that way you can get to that first transaction and build that database, right? Like, we want to show, and then again, for your side of it, right? Hey, I live in Sheboygan, or I live in a small town. How do I invest and become a big investor in a small town? Well, he's from a small town. You're doing those things. You know what I mean? So it's like city, town, village, whatever the case may
Yeah,
be,
it
what type of
does.
investor.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It matters how you network and how you talk to people. And I mean, you've had a lot of progressions. I mean, if for everybody that doesn't know, Humble Hands Real Estate is its own brokerage. They are people that can hire someone like me, who is not a broker, I'm just an agent, to come work for them. So Pedro's got his hands in a lot of different cookie jars in running this business, and he's got a really good partner. I haven't met Rick yet, but I look forward to the day that I do, because I do see the complementary and how you guys can divide and conquer. And to have that business at your hand and have to run that, there's a lot of responsibility and a lot of accountability that comes with that. And you've had a couple of shots at that, and you continue to excel and grow at each stage that you come into. So why don't you highlight for everybody, one thing that's gleaming out of all that that you've been able to take, learn, and grow from, through those stages of successes that you've had? Because you've done this before and you did it well, and then you had some things you had to take care of, and now you're back with a vengeance, and you guys are crushing it right now.
Man, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean, you don't. I say this all the time. You really don't learn anything from success. Like, it's really those setbacks, right? My last brokers that I owned was Hardy Realty. At one point, we had 14 agents. And we were doing good. We were growing, but we had high expenses. I didn't know really the accounting side of it. I didn't know the growth strategies. Just because you make money doesn't mean you're growing. And I really had to take that, like, wow, that's a tough pill to swallow, right? Because it doesn't make sense when you think about it. Like, well, if you're making money, you're growing. Well, not if you're making the money, then you're putting it right outside the door, right? How do you become more profitable? And when we did Humble Hands Real Estate, now I'm taking all those things together, um, and I'm putting into this business. And a lot of people, I'm going to say something that's very controversial, but I think a lot of people need to understand this. My total expense is under $1,000 a month for Humble Hands Real Estate, me and my partners. That is insane compared to how many sales we have, how many clients we have, and how we're growing. Is how the hell are we doing this with such a low budget? And we're grabbing Rick's 20 years of experience in investing, and we're grabbing my 7 years of experience in real estate, and we're bringing them together. And what's the number one rule besides location? Location is, you know, buy low, right? Sell high in business, right? You got to buy low, sell high. So now let's keep everything low. Let's keep those expenses low so we can have more profitability. Now, that's on our side of it as a brokerage, right? When people think of a brokerage, it's like a Keller Williams, it's like a Shore West. That's a brokerage. Now, the teams that you're seeing, they work under the brokerage.
Yep.
That's how that whole works. So, just to give everybody a quick overview, you get your real estate license and you become a real estate agent. The first thing you have to do as an agent is you can't go out there and sell and buy whatever. You actually have to work under a firm in order to practice. And so you go interview at these different firms like Keller Williams, Humble Hands, all these places. And then from there, you can actually start practicing real estate. After a couple of years, you get some stuff, knowledge under your belt. Now you could actually take a test again, which was I failed it 3 times. I'm not the smartest cookie in a jar. But is that even the thing, smartest cookie in a jar, right? I even said that, it doesn't make sense. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, baby.
We can edit that. We can edit that.
We're getting it, right? We're gonna get it. And then you become a broker, and then you can start your own practice. So, that's one career side of real estate. And then yours is, you're an agent, but you're also in property management. We don't do property management or anything like that. So you have that different tail, right? That different, outlet of real estate. So tell me about the property management side, because everyone wants to be a property manager. That's real estate agents and property managers are the top two things I hear people say all the time. And I'm like, do you understand how hard it is to be a property manager?
Yeah. Unless you've done it, you've either done it well or you've done it terrible, because there is no in between. I'm not going to say I'm lights out, but I'd like to think a lot of people trust what I do only because I grew up making the mistakes. I mean, I bought my first property at 22 with an FHA loan. I had a great mentor, taught me how to do things. Was there, went through that type of gauntlet himself, so I had a lot of good wisdom to lean on. But imagine at 22 going up to someone who's 40, or there's this other guy who was on Social Security, 60 some plus years old, a smoker, and you don't want to stir the pot, but you want to tell him to stop smoking. This one lady couldn't pay her rent on time. Like, how do you navigate all these different dynamics of people? And I think that's definitely melded a different personality that's continued to adapt upon me as I've grown, but it's super difficult. You have to lease, you've got to collect the rents, you've got to send out things timely. The legality side of this entire business has changed completely, especially this year. There's some court rulings that have come out that every lease that has been written prior to June of this year, if the right person gets their hands on it and takes you to court, you will be out of your rent money from a retroactive space until that person signed their lease, which could be years of rent, tens of thousands of dollars that you're going to have to pay for if you didn't do it correctly and you didn't change your lease. So there's just so much that's constantly changing, and that's with any profession. But property management's a different animal. Something goes wrong, doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. on a Saturday. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas Day, which I've had a pipe burst at a 9-story apartment complex that I manage on Christmas Day, where I spent 3 hours on the phone with restoration companies and plumbers trying to get this pipe break from a freeze fixed. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage. It doesn't matter. It's all there. You're live constantly. You're always on the clock. And most importantly, you still have to maintain a level of customer service with the tenant, and you have to treat them right, even though they might not be treating you right. So there's a balance that comes with it, and it's not easy by any means. It's not my favorite thing to do. I definitely like being a realtor more than I like the property management, but that's why with Superior Home Insights, it's a very small concentration. I'm not going to work with everybody. Our personalities have to match from an investor to me, first and foremost. You have to have an asset in an area that I want to grow in and help you succeed in growing in. So I don't manage everywhere. And I'm starting to chop down the logistics of where I manage, because, you might think it's easy just driving out to a property and fixing something that's a half hour away. I hire people. I'm not hands-on by any means in that regard, but when you got to make errands and runs and things like that and lease properties and show them and be there to check things over on a quarterly basis, time is valuable. So you got to balance all of that. And property management is definitely something that's not for the weak. So
Oh yeah.
you're either good or you're bad. There is no in between.
Yeah, you got to have a thick skin, but you also have to show empathy, right? Like you got to
100%.
that balance of those two right there. I mean, I was just talking to my business partner about this today. And it was something about Elon Musk's ex-wife that, what's Elon Musk like? What's his superpower, right? And she said, every day he handles so much pressure that will break the average person, and he does it in his sleep. And that resonated with me because I mean, you could probably agree with this too. How many situations have you been in when you went above and beyond and people didn't even know what's going on and you're tackling all these fires and they just walk in and to have the smoothest transaction they ever had in their life, but behind closed doors, you're literally going to the moon and back. And I've seen people crack under real estate transactions. I've seen all that, and I'm like, I'm 90% of the times I'm helping the other agent doing their job, and the public doesn't know that. I'm like, dude, like you're missing signatures on here. Like honestly, like this is technically void. Like we could void this. We could be out this deal right now, based off of just the legal part of it. But obviously, I want everyone to be happy. I'm doing my fiduciary, responsibility for my client, but also not being an asshole to the other agent that may miss a signature or may miss this or that. Um, but again, it's to handle that pressure nonstop and not crack.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think that ties to your servant leadership. You mentioned that before, and we both are central on that as to who we are as people, and I think that that comes back to it. You have to help out the other person out.
yeah, but you know what? We gonna make that your blooper, baby. Um, but it's all good, man. Um, but yeah, so Matt, what are we trying to do here? Like, what's the goal? What is the when we talk about this podcast? What should our viewers expect every time there's an episode dropping?
Yeah, you getting, but truthfully, yeah, what we're trying to do is provide value at no cost. All you have to do is sign on and listen. You don't have to pay us. We'll drop our Venmos if you want to send us a tip, but that's up to you. Um, but no, for real, it's a value add podcast, and we are going to bring experts. We're going to bring people that are doing our jobs better than us, and we're not going to be afraid to admit it. Um, give the credit to where it's due, and we're going to bring rock star agents in here that have a practice that are just crushing 100+ transactions a year. We're going to bring in contractors who know the ins and outs of business way beyond the knowledge of you and I combined. We're going to bring in inspectors. We're going to bring in lenders, people that are the best at what they do to provide you, the everyday listener, a value add opportunity to learn and grow. Reach out to that person, reach out to us, reach out to whoever you want that's already within your network of people that saying, "Hey, I heard this on this podcast. How do we implement this? And how do I grow from that?" So we want people to be integrators after they listen to this show, no matter who the expert is that we're talking to. And we're gonna have a good time doing it. It's gonna be laid back, fun, and like we said, just a free value add content related podcast. And that's what we're shooting for here.
That's it. I mean, I can't say any. I mean, people always when something is free, they don't take it serious. And I hate that because there's tons of knowledge out there if you're gonna go seek it. And we're doing the research for you. We're bringing the professionals in for you. We're doing this for you. This doesn't, I know how to do a written budget. I know how to get my credit score up. I know how to buy a house or invest and all that. We're going to give you guys these secrets, and you don't have to hear it from Matt or myself. You can hear it from honestly the professional that does it every single day. Um, and if there's things that you guys want to see, let us know, right? Like, hey, winter's coming up. Let's talk about snow removal guys, right? Like, we don't care who we bring on, as long as there's value there, and as long as you, the viewer, as long as you walk away with something every episode, we did our job. And I can sleep good at night. I know Matt can sleep good at night because it comes back to who we are, and that's a servant leader, right? Like everything that we do is because we're servant leaders. And now, you know, we're here to serve, not necessarily serve you, but we're here to, provide that value to you, your family, your friends, and people in our community. So that way we could all become better connected. And yeah, I mean, it's literally that simple. So, man, first episode, how you feeling, brother?
I feel good. This was fun. I look
This,
forward to doing many more of these.
I cannot wait. here everybody knows the Bald Head Realtor, and I love my margaritas, especially on Taco Tuesday. So if you guys like to see fun, it's not just gonna be all boring work stuff. We're gonna crack jokes here. I'm gonna have a margarita. I know Matt's gonna have a margarita on camera. He might have his golf club with him next episode. I don't know.
Might be
But
doing this from the course. We'll see.
exactly, right. This is what it's about, right? We're not sitting in a room. None of this is scripted. What we're gonna do is just be ourselves and have a good time doing it. So from the bottom of my heart, Pedro Hardy, thank you for watching this first episode. I appreciate you guys.
Deuces.
There you go. Perfect. That's my boy.